Hi, my name is Bob Taylor. I'm your host today on this segment of Our Ventura TV. I'm here today with my guest, Bill Trester, and he's with an organization, Christian Love Gifts. Well, good afternoon, Bill. How are you today?
I'm really good, Bob, and I appreciate this opportunity to spend some time with you.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, Bill. I know we have a lot of mutual friends. Please tell me what Christian Love Gifts is all about.
Christian Love Gifts is a nonprofit, and what we do is provide short-term medical missions and outreach to the Philippines. We were formed in 2008, and since that time we provided medical care to slightly over 16,000 people, and we've brought about 8,000 people to Christ.
Wow, since 2008.
Yeah, we made 8 trips there, and what we do is we raise funds here we're non-denominational, so that we have outreach to many of the churches in Ventura County, but we also reach a lot of the unchurched and the people that have passion for orphans or the poor. And what our concept is that in the Philippines there's an island called Luzon. Northern Luzon is a very poor rural area, and they are hit by typhoons and a lot of natural disasters. And what we want to do is bring medical care to the people of Northern Luzon. At the same time, while we're doing that, we evangelize. So we bring people to Christ.
Okay, now, I was reading on Facebook just the other day, Bill, just after we first talked, I saw a thing about you on Facebook, and you were collecting skateboard wheels.
Yes.
For kids. Now, what's that got to do with medical, and what's that have to do with your mission?
Okay. We started as medical missions, but then the Lord has said, hey, I'm bigger than that. And so we respond, and we collect toys, clothing, skateboards, Bibles, food for the poor in the Philippines. And we have a shipper that will transport it from Camarillo to Luzon. And we have formed a partnership with a pastoral team there named Solomon and Elizabeth Ventura. And it's interesting that the last name is Ventura, right?
No relation of any kind.
No. And when my wife Vail and I formed Christian Love Gifts, we said that we will take care of all the overhead costs, administrative costs. So what we do is, if anybody donates anything to us, including the skateboards you're talking about, what we do is we ship them to Pastor Solomon and Elizabeth, and they take care of the distribution to the poor and needy in the Philippines. Now, we have a particular heart for children, and one of the things that Solomon and Elizabeth do is they formed an orphanage. So they have orphans that they pull in from all over the Philippines, and in fact there's 67 dialects taught in the Philippines. You go to the orphanage, you hear this dialect or that dialect. But the one thing that's unique about the orphanage is they take the children, they're committed to giving them a schooling, clothe them, and prepare them to go out in society. So a lot of the collections that we have for clothing and school supplies are for the orphanage, and that it takes these, in the Philippines, I don't know how to say this exactly, but a lot of because it is such a third world country, if there's an orphan, if it's a girl, sometimes they are used for sexual bad practices.
Yeah, we hear those horror stories.
And if it's a guy, they have to become indentured servants out in the rice fields or something like that. And it gives us great joy to be able to take these kids that would have had that kind of life and see them go through school. We also raise money for sponsors for college. So we have a gal named Madeline that just graduated this year that we supported, and she's now a social worker. We have another gal that is taking to be a civil engineer. She's studying to be a civil engineer.
Great.
And these are just orphans that, if you look at what their life would have been, and now the Lord is working in their life to do this. The other thing we do is Pastor Solomon has a Bible college. And again, there are poor guys and gals that have a passion to become a minister or serve the Lord, but they have no money. Right. And they will come in with just the clothes on their back. And what we do is we raise money, again, to clothe them, to pay for their education, so that when they graduate, they can go out and plant a church. And again, all this is done in what we call the unreached area.
Right, right.
It's areas that you go into a barangay that is just a small rural area, primarily growing rice, or it's in the mountains. And there's no accommodations there. There's no water. There's no store, and they basically are just living off the land. And we have supporting these kids that come in, and then they'll go out and they'll plant a church. So then they will start putting in Christian values instead of some of the pagan values that are in these areas.
Now, I want to back up on one thing you said earlier. You've partnered with a shipping company here, and the people out there. It's got to cost a bundle to ship stuff all the way to the Philippines.
Yes.
And you and your wife cover all of those costs?
Every nickel.
Not through the nonprofit, that's
No.
strictly on a personal basis. So every penny that goes to your nonprofit gets to the Philippines.
I have to make sure I say this properly. The Lord was very beneficial to me during my professional career. And when I retired, my wife and I talked and said, okay, what are we going to do now? Because I could either play golf or do a lot of stuff. And we said, okay, the time has come to start giving it back. So what we do is, again, we guarantee to our supporters, every nickel that they give us is going to hit the ground in the Philippines.
That's just amazing.
And we have taken it on as a personal passion that we will cover all overhead costs.
The nonprofits that I've talked to and the ones we read about and that kind of thing, the best I have seen is the Salvation Army, and 90% of that goes to the underprivileged or those that they serve, and only 10% goes to administration. And you're saying 100% goes right to the Philippines, or where people are looking for it to go to.
That's right. That's right. All overhead costs is borne by my wife and I. There's something else that we do that we believe that children need to have joy in their life.
Yes.
So we will go there and we will do a Jollibee trip. And Jollibee is like a McDonald's, if you don't mind me mentioning the name, but they serve chicken and rice. And what's significant about that is a lot of these kids will only have protein maybe once a week or maybe every 3 weeks. And when they go to a Jollibee, you just ought to see the joy on their faces. Okay.
I can see the gleam in your eye when you talk about it, Bill.
Yeah.
You're really passionate about that.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing we do is we have ice cream parties. Again, the kids don't get ice cream. And,
right.
And so we have this outreach to orphans. We have outreach to the poor. And then when we're there, again, of course, we teach the Word, both at local churches or wherever we happen to be, or a lot of times we are like I hate to say this, the circus that's coming to town.
Right.
These foreigners are coming. But what happens is there's so much love in the Philippine people for Americans that they come and then they're receptive to the word of the Lord. So that's how people come to Christ.
Now, most of us, myself included, I knew the Philippines was impoverished, but I just didn't realize how bad things were until the typhoon hit a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago.
The typhoon, we were there, by the way.
Oh, no kidding.
It came in, it was the largest typhoon in the recorded history of the world. I think It had velocities of something like 270 miles per hour, in the center, and it killed thousands of people.
Yeah.
There was a tidal surge of 30 feet when it came ashore. We were in what was called Band 3. We were actually doing medical missions on that day. And we were in northern Luzon, and we were in what are called the third band. So we only had the rain. The only way I would describe it, it's like, say you're in a garage and somebody has a fire hose and is just putting water down, but it just stripped the crops.
Right.
And so again, that's part of our outreach, where we collect tools, we collect hammers, nails, to send over for them to rebuild their houses, for them to get another start, and to start from scratch.
And I guess almost everything in the Philippines, in one way or another, has to be shipped in, just about everything. They don't
That's
have
right.
a lot of their own natural resources that,
They have-
at least not right during the real bad areas or
That's
real
correct.
impoverished areas.
That's correct. And they, but on the other hand, they live a simple life, maybe compared to us, but they're very family oriented. They're very loving and incredibly appreciative of anything that you do. I'll tell you, there's nothing, again, when you walk into an orphanage, there's nothing like 40 kids coming out and all hugging you at the same time. And I tell you, it makes it worth going for in the next year, right?
It's kind of like wearing a Santa Claus suit, walking into a little kid's party or something.
Oh, yeah. Now, we're going again on January 15th, and we will go to 4 barangays that have not been reached before. So this will be the first time they will get medical care, first time doctor. See, by the way, I should stress this. The doctors, the nurses, and the dentists volunteer their time over there.
Great.
So there's no cost.
Right.
And
you pay for everything else.
we pay for the medicines, we pay for the logistical support, and, well, the medicines actually come from donations.
Right.
This is where our supporters donate. And we've gotten smarter as we go along. We used to buy American medicines. Doctors over there didn't know what they were. They couldn't read the labels. So now we funnel the money over there to Philippine doctors, and they order the medicines. So they know what medicines are needed in each area.
I really hate to say this, Bill, but we're just about out of time.
Well, I tell you, time goes fast.
Time sure does, doesn't it? So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that really want to help, Bill. And
Okay.
how do people get a hold of you?
Okay. They can either go on Google and Google Christian Love Gifts, and then that's the name of our organization. But to make sure Google finds us, say -Philippines, and you'll come up with a nonprofit called Christian Love Gifts. You can also go to Christian Love Gifts, all one word, .net, and that's our website. And there's a video there that shows everything we're doing, and it also shows what our passion is and how they can donate. If they want to contact me directly, and I'd love to have that happen, they can go to B, like in Bill, V, like in Vail, Trester, which is my last name, Trester, at Verizon.net. And I would love to hear to anybody that has a passion to help orphans, help the needy, provide medical care, or actually anybody who wants to go, they're welcome to come with us. So,
Wow. Quite a bit of information there. My name is Bob Taylor. I've been your host today. Thank you to Bill Trester for his wonderful talk about the Philippines. And until next time, this is Our Ventura TV.